Yo, can I talk to you for a second?
Oh, hey. How's it going, my friend? This is Brother Jay. It's been a little while, hadn't it? Uh, my bad. I've just been busy. I think in my last video I talked about how my friend was getting bullied at work, and he ended up having to quit his job, so I spent quite a bit of time just, you know, being there for him and that kind of thing, helping him find more work. And so, you know, so I haven't really had the time to devote to my YouTube channel like I should have, and I'm sorry. I know you've been waiting for a long time. Whether you're just now getting into it because of the social commentary videos, or whether you're wanting to see more gaming videos, yeah, either way, I do need to spend a little more time doing this, and once again, I apologize. But, just to bring you a little something interesting, I've recently been arguing with people about evolution and feminism and the usual political nonsense that goes on. And, well, the one I wanted to bring to you right now is evolution. And I've got here in my hand a pamphlet on snakes in southeast Texas. Okay, now you're thinking, oh, well, you know, snakes, that's pretty cool, right? I'm going to spread this out, and I want you to tell me, does that look like there's just like one or two snakes? Because this is southeast Texas. This is around Houston, where I live, and surrounding areas, all the way to like the border itself. Now, I know you can't really see what all of these serpents are, because I'm going so fast, but rest assured, there are quite a few of them. Now, as most people don't understand evolution and still presume to talk about anyway, I guess I'll go ahead and give you the kind of the layman's perspective on it. By the way, if anybody's wondering what that means, a layman means one of two things. Either it's a person who's not a member of the clergy, that was the original usage. The modern day usage is a person who does not belong to a particular profession or who is not an expert in some field. You know, for example, somebody comes up and they ask you, or they tell you something, and it's like full of jargon. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm just a layman. Give it to me in English. Which basically is saying, look, I don't understand a word of what you're saying because you've studied this and I haven't. It's kind of like that scene in Ghostbusters where, you know, Ray Stantz explains something to Peter Venkman, and Peter goes like, Ray, for just a moment, pretend that I haven't studied metaphysics or metallurgy, and just tell me what the hell is going on here. So, I'd play the clip, but being that it's copyright, I don't really want to make anything mad, even though I do want to tribute Bill Murray every chance I get, because that guy is just, he's epic. And of course Dan Aykroyd, who seems to have dropped off the face of the earth. Have you noticed that? There's no Dan Aykroyd. He was everywhere, and now he's nowhere. Oh well. Anyway, so, evolution. Too many people get into the idea of how, say, like, Pokemon evolve, or, you know, like the video game romanticization of evolution. But the fact is, evolution is something that happens gradually over time. It's not an instantaneous thing. One species just doesn't spontaneously become another species. So all of these snakes in my little snake fold-out thing, they didn't even come from this one snake. This is just one snake. You know, all of these, you can call them mutations, you can call them adapted offspring. The term technically applies in either context, but these snakes all came from a common ancestor, and some of them have common near ancestors. You know, like near ancestor, instead of, you know, their great to the 16th power ancestor, it's just like their great-great-grandpa. You know, it can sometimes be that close, like in the example of the Gulf salt marsh and the eastern garter snake. You know, they look remarkably similar, right? But the difference is, the salt marsh, well, let me see if I can just hold it out. That's okay. You can't see that. Anyway, there's some minor differences. You know, one tends to live near streams and ponds, while others tend to hang out in like mud and sand. One's poisonous, the other isn't. One eats small fish, crabs, shrimp, and other invertebrates, while the other eats amphibians, earthworms, fish, and small rodents. The physical features: 4 dark stripes on the salt marsh, with 2 tan or yellow stripes on each side of the body. Stripes may appear broken, whereas the garter snake, brown with a greenish body, red flecks with small blackish blotches on the side, cream-colored centered stripe from head to tail, 2 yellow stripes on the sides of the body, and then there's a ribbon snake, bluish chin, thin-bodied, 3 light-colored stripes down the back. You know, it also hangs out near the water. Then there's the Gulf Coast ribbon snake, which is even bigger, even though it's smaller, you know, around. So, I mean, all 4 of these snakes have a common ancestor. You know, and so that's kind of how evolution is. It starts off with, well, it started off with bacteria and whatnot, that the single-celled organisms that, you know, constituted the first electrified amino chain, which then began to move around independently of impact from other molecules. It moved around on its own. Such was the beginning of life, and then, you know, over the course of, good lord, I want to say about, without looking it up, I mean, and this is not stuff I just keep in my brain at all times, but life has pretty much been evolving on this planet for about 1.5 billion years. I mean, you know, ever since the last ice comet struck the planet and the oceans were finished becoming what they were, and the crust cooled down enough and the ice ages passed by, life began to form in the oceans. You know, the primordial soup of, you know, life on Earth. And over time, it got more and more complex, because that's what life does. You know, once it begins, it continues forward. You know, you can see this in the growth of a human baby. It goes from being the two organisms, the egg and the sperm, and you know how it works. Why am I explaining this to you? And anyway, so as the cells divide and it gets bigger, you know, it becomes a zygote and all that, and then finally, you know, it's born as a baby, and then, you know, it continues forward from there, becoming a toddler, child, a teenager, an adult, and starts producing babies of its own. And each one of these children carries a mix of genetic code from its parents. So And of course, you can see how it branches out. If you start with just two humans, as religion would have us believe, two humans were the beginning of the genetic code for the entire species. Now, if that were the case, we would be getting a purified species. There would be no deviation. There would be no difference between any of us. So clearly there were more than two people at the beginning of this, and there was a point in which, our parent species and our species were still compatible, and we could intermingle, which, our ancient progenitors, once they had enough of our own kind, they mingled with their own kind, and over the 100 to 200,000 to 300,000 years it took to go from being little more than an intelligent ape to what we see in front of us, much more than an intelligent ape, that's when things got real. And it certainly helped that we also developed tools. Did you know that the Earth has had 5 species of humans so far that we know about? 5 of us, 5 species of humans, all at the same time. There's us, the Homo sapiens, the Neanderthals, which we wiped out, the Pygmies, which still exist, and then they found another one, I think out in Australia. And then there was also one other human race, and I forget what it was called, but they also died out. So we Homo sapiens were the dominant species of the 5 human species on Earth. And we weren't as big and powerful as the Neanderthals, and we were certainly bigger and stronger than the Pygmies. I'm not sure how we stack up to this new species they just recently found, but I do know that the other species was, I think they were longer lived, but they were kind of weaker than we were. They had a much greater lifespan. Like, they would live for like 150 years compared to our 35 at the time. So if religion is any sort of indicator of human history, they would be known as a Methuselah race, the guy that lived for a great deal of time. Adam and Eve themselves in the Bible lived for over 350 years. So, but that's just going with, that particular set of history. So, what does that all mean? It means humans did evolve, and we continue to evolve. I don't know if anybody's paid attention, but our lifespan has increased dramatically since, the very early days. It was extremely rare, in the course of history, that anybody lived past, say, 35 to 40 years old. And a lot of people say, oh, well, that's because medical technology wasn't as good back then. That's exactly the point. Our curiosity and our intellect have allowed us to utilize the various herbs and treatments and that sort of thing and chemicals around us to expand our own lifespan, to heal from injuries a lot faster than we would otherwise, to cure diseases which, no other animal on Earth can do. An animal comes sick, it's got to wait it out, but we can actively cure things. And that is evolution of a sentient species. There's different levels of sentience. We are the most sentient species on our planet, as evidenced not only by our tools, but by our advancing those tools. And I have to qualify that, because there are other tool-using species on this planet. It doesn't make us unique, but what does make us unique is the advancement of our tools and the versatility of them. And our capacity to learn far more in much shorter a time than any other species that lives on this planet with us. Currently, I know of a few of the sentient species. There's elephants, there's whales, dolphins, apes, monkeys, and of course dogs and cats. That may surprise some people. They're like, okay, now you're just talking gibberish. You might have been saying that since the beginning of the video. Oh, no, that's cool. But you have to understand, dogs have been associating with humans for almost ever since we were still apes. And we've bred these dogs, and we've created very many subspecies of dogs that wouldn't exist. Now, there's a lot of dumb mutts out there, but my interaction with my two dogs, who I haven't even had them for a full year yet, but they are amazingly intelligent. I've never had a dog that, for example, knows how to open the back door and let itself into the house. But I swear to you, both Cleo and Lolly have learned how to jump up, brace themselves against the wall, and use their paw to turn the handle, and then the other one will nudge the door open, and they'll both come into the house on their own. We have to lock the door so they don't just bust up in the house and eat the cat food. So that signifies quite an awareness and quite a capacity to learn. They also work in team. They work in tandem with each other. Like, we'll go out in the backyard and we'll throw the ball for them. And if we throw it out, towards the fence, Cleo will go charging off after it, and then she'll bring it back and drop it, and then Lolly will pick it up and carry it the rest of the way to us. And, that is a sense of teamwork. And while it may be common in some animals, it may be even, passed off as a pack behavior, the fact is they do it, and no one taught them that. They learned it shortly after they learned, hey, we like it if you chase the ball and bring it back to us. And but it's just amazing how smart they are. And yeah, I could be waxing philosophical and saying, well, I'm observing this stuff, and so therefore I'm drawing my own conclusions, and anthropomorphizing my own pets. And that would possibly be true if I had a sentimental bone in my body, which I do, but it's for very few things. And if I ever wax philosophical about something that I have an attachment to, then, I'm being somewhat out of character. I always look at everything as objectively as I can. So therefore, what I'm saying is what I'm seeing. It's what I'm observing. I'm not putting into it my own projection. My dogs are doing things that I've never seen dogs do, and I've hung out with a lot of dogs. It's not like this is my first time ever having pets. Alright? So I've met a lot of dumb dogs, but these two are raising the bar for the canine species completely, at least in my opinion. Now, but yeah, so that sort of thing, and it just, I've lost my topic here. I've completely gone way off in the left field talking about my dogs. But can you imagine the canines from, say, 600 years ago? Were they as smart? Were they as clever? Were they as innovative? Maybe. None of us knew any dogs from back then. So there's no way of really telling. But we can tell from the humans back then, because 600 years ago, one of the smartest humans to ever exist was running around coming up with schematics for a working helicopter design Leonardo da Vinci. Now, one could look at him and say, well, if he happened, why didn't the rest of the human race be like that? And it's simply because every so often there is a freak event in which, a hyper-evolved being within a species will be born, and it will have, the maximum potential for that species. Now, that doesn't mean that the entire species takes a jump. No, because even though, one person hits the lottery, the whole human race doesn't also hit the lottery. Okay? That's a flaw in thinking that so many people have. Because the maximum potential being might never breed, and therefore its superior genes will never intermingle with any other genes, superior or equal or lesser. So it becomes an evolutionary cul-de-sac. Hey, you didn't return what you've got to the gene pool to benefit it. It's kind of like horse breeders, for example, will tell you, sometimes they'll have a horse that's just absolutely amazing, and then they'll breed it, and then its offspring have a tendency to be as awesome as the sire or the dam before it. Not always, because with genetics, it's still luck of the draw. That's one of the very many mysteries of nature and life. So, if you were expecting a specific scientific lecture on evolution and how it works, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I did say this is for the layman. This is for the person who's not an expert, who doesn't want to be an expert. They just want to know what the hell is going on. And there's a significant portion of Christian society that denounces evolution, says it can't be done. In their self-pride, they say, I could never be related to apes. Oh my God, that's just so disgusting. What's disgusting about it? If, for example, I'll go into my personal beliefs later. I am not a Christian. I'm actually not a theist of any kind. There have been no religions on earth that actually match what I believe, so I started my own. But, just to touch on it briefly, who's to say that the creator of the universe did not plan for evolution to be the way that the universe came about? The fact that the random number generator even exists, to me, is evidence enough to say, you know what, that's how it happened. Some people demand proof. I say, the fact that random number generators exist is proof enough. When you consider that the entire universe is so huge, and, what we can observe of it is 900 billion light years, good luck ever reaching that. I saw on, like, a Carl Sagan-esque website that moving at light speed, it would take, 900,000 to 9 million years? It would take 900 billion years to cross from one side of the observable universe to the other. Okay? You're going to tell me that only one planet out of all of that has intelligent or even life at all on it, and that, some vast, all-powerful being would not conceivably ever plan for more than that? I mean, really? So, my take on God is completely different than most people's take on God. I am not a creationist. Alright, creationists are kind of the bastardization of what I believe in. So, don't mistake me for one. You will probably offend me if you do. I'm an atheist only in the sense that I don't think any of the religions on earth have it right. Um, but do I believe that there is a higher power out there somewhere? Certainly. Anyone with sense does, because taking out the Fermi paradox for just 5 minutes and thinking about things rationally, there's other intelligent species out there in this universe. Within the Sloan Great Wall, definitely. Within our own galaxy, very, very likely. So, that means either we are the first to evolve, which means we are the higher power, or there are other beings that evolved before us, and they most assuredly are higher powers. You know, if they have developed sustained spaceflight and explored beyond their own solar system, they are a higher power. Alright, does that make them God? Well, in the sense that yes, it makes them a god to us as we would be to a caveman. And let me show you. To a caveman, I just created fire out of nothing. Here, I can do it again without showing you the lighter. See? I have just conjured fire. I'm a god to a caveman. And all it is just a little piece of technology, which in the modern day we all take this for granted. You can buy one of these for 99 cents. So, that is what higher power means to me. And evolution, well, you know what? This is still flint and tinder, but it's reusable flint and tinder, and it uses much less than used to be required. I can light 10,000 fires with this, whereas somebody with the original tool would have a hard time lighting just one fire. And if they did, you know, hopefully their flint is still in good enough shape for them to do it again. They didn't grind it down with that other rock. So, I'm holding in my hand a small but telling proof of evolution. Take that with you. Have a great day. And stay frosty, my friend.